So we've got 23 people here right now. We're gonna have people probably trickle in as we kick this off. But welcome, Chris Cooley here, MC extraordinaire. We have our three panelists and moderator today. So what we decided to do as a organization is, and some of you are familiar with our format that we run virtually for coffee, which is more of the Hollywood Squares / Brady Bunch, where you see yourself. This is a separate format, which is going to reflect more like a Candids style RocGrowth event, where we have a interviewer. I'm not sure which way I'm pointing, but on my screen, Richard is over here. So Richard will be interviewing three panelists. He'll tell you a little bit more about who these folks are in a second. I'm here to let you know about the format and sort of moderate on the back end. So there's a couple of different things happening today. One is that there is a Q&A box. If you hover over your menu in Zoom, this is where if you have specific questions for the panelists as they're presenting, please type your questions in the Q&A box. And at the end of about 30 minutes or so, we will actually have an interactive portion to this. So you can, we'll actually come on and ask the panelists questions, your questions, answers. And there's also a chat box. So if you have just more casual back and forth banter, you can do that there. And Adriana, who's part of our team, will be able to communicate with you through that. So we have, overall format is, we actually have a poll that we'll be sending out. So we're gonna use all the features of Zoom today. The poll is just more of a general question about where you're at in this current pandemic, business-wise, employment-wise. And so I'm gonna send that out as soon as I stop talking here. And Richard's gonna do a little intro. And before we kick everything off, we will kind of report back on the results of that poll. So yeah, interactive stuff. There's already been a couple of questions in the chat. I can't see myself. Again, just to reiterate, this is a webinar format. So you will only see the panelists and the interviewer and me on occasion, which is right now. And then later when we have some Q&A. So if you have general sort of questions, why isn't my video working, all things that may come up in that sense, again, use the chat box. If you have specific questions for the panelists, throw that into the Q&A and we'll follow up with that near the end of this. So without me taking up too much more of your time, Richard, you want to go ahead and I'll send out the poll.
Welcome, RocGrowth community. These have been trying times. Thank you for making the effort. As you can see, we've transitioned to virtual format. Wow, I see the poll. Should I fill it out? This is cool. Good. So RocGrowth, our mission is fairly straightforward. It's about community building. We like to say that it entails empowering the new Rochester, and members of that community, the new Rochester, the new blood, the life force behind the revitalization of Rochester. Some of it is represented here today. It's about featuring our great innovators and entrepreneurs, which are in abundance in our community. They often go unnoticed. Again, we pride ourselves in featuring them in our various events. It's also about instigating creative collisions. These days we have to do them physically distant, but Zoom is one method to do that and encourage it. Use your chat room. And it's also about promoting greater equality of race, class, gender, and age. And I will acknowledge the diversity of the screen before you is not consistent with the sort of events we produce generally over the arc of time. If you combine all of the events we put on and collisions we cause, you would see greater diversity. But we're these individuals you'll see are very sensitive to that, are great contributors to promoting all of the values that that we try to promote in RocGrowth. The bottom line is about community, And I want to hear back from you because you're not, I can't see faces and all. So if you could, no change to employment. Let me see if I can reply to the survey. Do we have any survey results right now?
Yeah, Richard, it's 81% no change in employment, 3% furloughed, 13% unemployed, and 6% not employed by choice.
Yeah, well, the latest data for the overall economy is a little worse than that. But I know certainly many of you have been affected by this pandemic in both your employment and in other ways. So thanks for sharing that. Anyway, I am not going to speak very much. I'm going to pass this along to my three friends, people I've known for many years. And why don't you just briefly describe your organization, 30 seconds or less. And I see first in my upper left-hand corner, Jay. We'll go Jay, Fred, and Bleu.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having me. This is a nice event. So Jay McHarg, CEO of Aerosafe Global. We started as a material tech company. We make a great insulation, so we turned that into fabulous coolers. And the market we're in today is helping biopharmaceuticals ship temperature-sensitive medicines. We rent our solutions. We really are their supply chain partner. So we do everything soup to nuts that they don't want to do when the drug is not in the box. And so we ship to about 60 different countries and to the space station, but most of our business is in North America.
Fred Beer, I'm the president at ITX. ITX, we're a custom software product development company that focuses on web and mobile software that helps our clients generate more revenue, decrease costs, and overall increase their profitability. So that's really who we are.
Hi, I'm Bleu Cease. I'm the executive director of the Rochester Contemporary Art Center. Many people know us as the 6x6 place, so I popped up the background, the virtual background there, just to remind everybody and make sure everyone knew that. Honored to be here today. Thanks, Richard, for all you organize in our community, and you're such a great connector. I love all your programs, and I'm honored to be here today, and I'm excited to learn from you other panelists.
Thank you. So I chose the three of you for a reason. I would say you are connected to three of the most promising sectors of the regional economy. From Bleu, the arts and culture, you've demonstrated significant leadership in that field. You know, Fred, you're in the software and IT space, and Jay, you do advanced manufacturing. You also have a strong technology base to your product. I want to ask you, when did you have that oh shit moment? That's the best way I could phrase it. And you brought all hands on deck. Could you go back to that moment, which was no more than 2 months ago? Let's keep that, Jay. You might as well, Fred. Jay,
Okay.
Fred.
I think I had it at the same time everybody else did. It came on a lot faster than expected. It was, is this a concern? Yeah, it is. And now it was, as you said, it's like, oh, what are we going to do? We're 150 people, and 100 people have to come to work every day. We're an essential business. Our customers have to ship life-saving products. So we can't stop moving the boxes. And so it was challenging. I mean, there was confusion, there was fear, uncertainty. Is this going to be a week? Is this going to be 2 months? And so it was tough in the beginning. We just wanted to calm everybody down. We said, look, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but this is just another challenge that we're kind of used to. So we increased pay, we gave them extra time off, and we told them, look, we'll accommodate everybody's needs. Like everybody's needs. We'll just figure this out as long as we get boxes out the door. And I didn't want them worrying about work. They have enough to worry about in their own lives. So so far so good. I mean, I still don't know when this is going to end. So we're just we're implementing procedures that are potentially long-term. Who knows?
Fred, what was it like in the ITX shop? Now you're an international organization. You have folks all over the world, different time zones. So what was it like that when you realized this was just not a something where you could bump along and
Yeah,
make adjustments?
we do have people spread out a lot. We had, before this happened, we did have about 70% of our staff work from home. So, working from home. So in terms of the organization, it wasn't much. It was more outside of work that really hit me. And I remember two articles that really struck me. One was an article that talked about in China, if they had shut down earlier, how many deaths they would have saved. And it went through all the stats, and it's like, that was sort of the first, I remember, aha to me, that we're going to have to shut down. Things are going to change dramatically. And the other one that really struck me was a story. I don't know people remember, but back early March, I read a story about a British doctor who was in northern Italy and talking about just how horrendous, the decisions of who lives, who dies, those types of things that, in a first world country we don't think about as ever, should never happen. That's the type of thing that doesn't happen in a country like Italy, and striking. Could that happen here? And so those were really that oh shit moment of things are going to be very different moving forward, and how do we change? What's like this impact going to have on our clients? All those types of things, happened.
Lou, you have a one gallery, and you're right downtown. It's somewhat different than the other businesses, but you have to have revenues and you have staff and all of the same challenges other companies have. What was it like for you? And I do know you had an exhibit planned just 2 weeks after that.
Yeah. So I would say maybe a fundamental difference is that part of our operation is perception and experience for a visitor, and what we started to notice, as I recall, is around the 8th or the 9th of March, we started to notice 0 people coming in the door, and people calling us asking if we were still open. So that quickly kind of cued my interest. And then we, just started hearing the preliminary recommendations of social distancing, et cetera. So I basically, being a small organization, I wanted to be or just felt natural to be on the more conservative side of this, frankly. With the staff of 3 in the building and 1 working, consistently remotely from California. We decided to close pretty early. I think it was the 10th. We basically said, okay, we're going to put things on pause and we're going to close for a little while. And we were on the tail end of an exhibition. So just sort of noticing, how things were going. It was, in a sense, it was a convenient or easier time for us to close down, be extra cautious, because we were on the tail end of one exhibition. So we had a little, week window there where I thought we could, be conservative and close early, because we were headed into a 2 or 3 week period where we would be installing a new show. And that's what, prompted the tough decision of what to do longer term, 2-month, 4-month exhibition horizons. But, there's another moment I want to mention that was very interesting to me. Maybe after we were closed for like 5 or 6 days, I started getting 10 emails a day from other major museums around the world, saying, okay, we're closed for insert time period here. Some of those were saying, okay, we're closed and we're going to be closed through September. And so that was the oh shit moment for me, when the Met is closing for an extended period of time and announcing, and some other international museums were announcing extended closures, exhibition cancellations. And those are major considerations for major museums. That's what really cued me into the evolving and extreme situation that we were going to be dealing with. Maybe beyond that, there are other oh shit moments, and things that I remember from the 08, 09 economic, the Great Recession, and how in the nonprofit world, how fundraising kind of quickly tanks and membership revenue for us quickly goes off a cliff and then hopefully slowly rebuilds. But I remember the cliff experience from 09. And we've also, experienced that over the last month pretty quickly. So a few different oh shit moments, I guess.
Well, I'm pretty shameless about the supporting the arts. You are a nonprofit, and the mail still works, and so do the online donations portal. So you're still receiving contributions. I imagine, yes. All right.
Yes.
So ultimately, I'm in an organization where we shifted very quickly into work from home within a week. I want to hear how an organization such as yours, Jay, where you require people to be on premises because you have to make stuff, and then you do have a more professional category of employees. Give us some examples of the changes you implemented.
That was really challenging because everybody had their own situation as well. So you had, production people with kids at home. So they have to be here to do their job, but then they have to be home because they have kids and they don't have daycare. So all kinds of scenarios that we had to work through. But I mean, we did. And it was just, everybody wanted to do the right thing and get things done properly. And so a lot of people had to step up. It was impressive that you wouldn't have guessed. But in times like this, everybody's got to go the extra mile. So it was outstanding to see. But we did as much social distancing as we could. But it was difficult because some of the jobs that we have are manual and it takes 2 or 3 people to get it done. But we did shift from an assembly line type program to cells. And we did it just to create small groups of 2 to 4 people. And it was kind of a new family. Like that's your little cell now. Take care of each other and you'll be fine. You're going to work together. You're going to eat together. You're going to take breaks together. You're going to have your own space that no one's allowed to come within 10 feet of you. And so a landlord was great. We spread out in the building in different places, and it worked. I mean, no one got sick. So, but it was difficult at first. Like, yeah, you're going to hang out with these people for months. It's funny because we did it for safety. And then we found out later that Volvo did it in the 1970s for productivity, accountability, and quality. And we noticed that for the smaller jobs, it was so much better. And so we're going to stay with this cell program for the future, for the smaller jobs. For the big runners, it doesn't make sense. And we're, suffering a little bit there. But it's small victories in times like this that are nice. For the most part, the office staff work from home, but some people actually wanted to come to work because there's only 3 people in the office, and they're like, "I'm more productive in the office. Can I come in anyway?" And so we're like, "Yeah, sure." Just it's there's a lot of information out there. A lot of it was conflicting, so you kind of have to get together as a group and say what's going to work for us. Rochester was great. There was a lot of chat rooms and information, and the city and the state obviously giving lots of good guidelines. But at the end of the day, we're a unique company that has to do what's good for us. So far, so good.
Oh, Fred, one of the curious things is that, I have some friends who live overseas and had interaction with them a month, 2 months ago, and it just blew me away. There was that moment when I realized they're going through the same thing we're going through.
Right.
So, as you respond to some adjustments you made, I mean, you have Latin America, right? You have different parts of the country. I'm not sure if you have Europe. You have some operations.
Just a couple people scattered in Europe.
Yeah, tell us obviously you're dealing with technical workers who are familiar with, the technology we're using right here with Zoom and other similar technologies. But tell us a little bit about changes you guys had to make.
Yeah, as I said, most people worked from home. So I think we made the transition in like a day. It was, everyone could work from home. There was no real issues there. So the practical things were fairly easy to do. It was more the psychological things. And there was I remember I think it was about a week after New York shut down. All of Argentina, where we have a large number of people down in Argentina, Argentina shut down, and that sort of was that sort of hit it to me on how the global nature of this, that our people, suddenly everyone's facing the same problems, and typically, I mean, even seasons, we don't have the same seasons, right? Argentina's going into winter now, not into summer. I mean, so we're used to having things be very different, and this really struck it as everyone's facing this all across the globe in the same way, and has to deal with this in similar ways, so more the mental and the issues of being home, taking care of your kids, the anxiety, those types of things were more the issues that came up. So we made a big effort to communicate well to our people, really connect with our people, make sure our managers are connecting well with each of their people, having more one-on-ones, making sure they're seeing what's going on and addressing individual people's concerns as effectively as they can.
And Bleu, I mean, some of your steps where you took a year or two ago turned out to be a bit prescient. Would you describe how you've adapted technology? And you have a core group of people, and I understand you haven't furloughed anyone at the moment, or you still have your staff.
That's right. Yeah, we've kept everybody on. As I say, we have a small team, but we've been fortunate to be able to do that. And I like Jay's description of separating people into these little working groups, and essentially what we were able to do once we kind of eliminate the risk to the public, then our small team is able to spread out within our space to maintain continuity of operations, and then I was working from home for a fair amount of the time, but just figuring out those new working methods, how we package and ship art now is, that's a new wrinkle for us, how we do that from a distance. So yeah, I think, what you're referring to is the 6x6 exhibition, which, for us is a core fundraiser. It's about 20% of our annual revenue. But it's also a big crowd pleaser, really. If we were a big museum, that would be our Monet exhibition, as it were. It draws in people both as participants and visitors from all around the world. And as a small organization, in some ways, it's our identity. So we had the tough decisions to make. Are we going to change something about this mainstay of our program for 13 years running? And we were well into the promotion in early March. So luckily, and we were fortunate to have a strong online component to this, mostly in-house exhibition. But historically, for the last decade, we've been digitizing every artwork and putting them up for sale on a an e-commerce site. So we kind of had that backbone in place. And basically, my biggest decision with all of this, we knew we were going to do the online component. The question was, would we ever be able to come mid-June, early July, be able to open this particular project to the public in a way that made it worthwhile to put in the effort. So that was the big, tough decision for me as to whether or not we would even install the 4,000 artworks that we received. And basically I waited as long as I could to make that final call, and we decided not to go through the effort of installing it. So the big project, the 6x6 show, is now 100% digital this year, and that gives us the flexibility to operate and focus on public art and things where we can have a lot of flexibility and keep visitors distant and safe, and adjust more quickly to the reopening schedule. So yeah, we were fortunate to have the online component kind of in the bag, and now we're just focused on refining that and adjusting it. And another unique part about our industry is it's all about the opening night, right? It's all about the party, the kickoff, the launch, and basically that's one of the key ways our industry's been kneecapped with this. Without opening night, where's the buzz? Without opening night sales, if you're a commercial gallery, you just lost 60-70% of your sales. It's opening night, not to mention admission on opening night for larger museums, etc. So that's been the real adjustment challenge in this regard. How do we recreate an opening reception online? And that's how we've been working to adjust and kind of roll out access to the website as if you were paying admission to walk in the door. And we're adjusting as best we can, and we'll see how it goes. I'm pleased to see people of all generations just seamlessly following us and adjusting and buying their admission tickets to the virtual opening reception on June 6th. And fingers crossed, it'll be a successful exhibition and a successful fundraiser.
As you're describing this, it's reminding me of sports leagues, and how do you end up having competition with no fans in the seats, right?
Yeah.
There is something, we're social creatures and we like being around each other. I know I yearn for that contact again, and going back to a restaurant or another similar place. And but on that note, the three of you have built cultures in your organizations, and you're also, I want to highlight, I know they didn't necessarily share this with you beforehand when we were prepping. All three of you have, first of all, Jay, you have done things that are somewhat remarkable and have been impressive to me. I know ITX has developed an app, I think, and worked with some region to do some tracing or tracking. I'm not quite sure. Again, and then Jay, you have clients that are now household names, and you're involved in logistics, shipping, pharmaceuticals, and then Bleu, you have an exhibit going on right now that I'm not sure if that was something that you had contemplated several months ago. Would you talk? All three of you talk about some of the activities that are more COVID related and how you've implemented some significant projects. Like Jay, I know you did on the manufacturing floor, but you work with, I don't want to necessarily disclose a client of yours if you don't.
Yeah. Well, we're shipping COVID related medicines right now. So our customers are developing them and are using them to save lives. So that's, it makes it a lot easier to come to work for everybody when you have sort of a sense of purpose, and you can go home at the end of the day feeling like you've made a difference. And so we're just the box, but it's a small difference we like to think about. So yeah, it's if you're going to be essential, it might as well be purposeful as well. So that's been a good motivator. I think our customers are working hard. Every one of them has put every other product on the back burner to try to get COVID-related vaccines or treatments approved. I can't tell you the stuff they're going through to free up manufacturing space, and so I think it's a good thing. Everybody's trying to step up and do the right thing. Looks like it's could be an interesting fall. I think we'll have multiple companies get approval, is my guess. Because a lot of them are working on them. So we'll be happy to help ship them around and do what we can.
Fred, I can't recall precisely, something in the Midwest, I believe, right?
Yeah, so to give a little background, the sales for us in software, I mean, every company, this is a challenge to us and an opportunity. A challenge, and some of our existing clients are changing or decreasing what they're spending, but it's also a position where every company needs to invest in software. And so we had to pivot our sales message. You can't sell in the same way. You can't get out and talk to people in the same way. And how do we do that? We talked to one of our sales reps was out in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he discovered a pain point in the hospital where the hospital was people who were coming into the hospital and feeling, and saying they were sick, they weren't feeling well, and they were sending them home because they weren't sick enough to be in the hospital. And then they were asking them to text in their vitals a couple times a day. And then they were manually entering those into spreadsheets and tracking them, which, yeah, that works fine when you have, 20, 30 people doing it. But as they started to scale up, that's not scalable in any way. So we built an app for them, or a website called Vitals Update. And it allows you to basically, it allows them to send people to this website, register for the site, and then they would fill out their vitals on that website, and then the hospital can just download the data and import it directly into their systems. They don't have to, so it scales much better. It works better for them overall. And we actually gave that to them, at no charge to them, and we're looking at a couple of other hospitals and organizations to do that. And it's nice to give back, and the people on the program really liked it. I mean, we turned around some of this stuff in a couple of days. We had some initial prototypes up and running, which people put in a lot of extra hours and really to do this, because they realized it's helping save lives. It's helping make a difference. If people who have COVID are showing up at the hospitals, they have to waste PPE, they have to do all these other things. If they can get them out of the hospitals, they can use the PPE where it's really needed. They can focus the staff on where things are really needed. So it made a big difference there, and it made a big difference to our people. And it's opened doors into other areas, other new opportunities for us too. So it's I've always found you give, and people, more stuff comes from that. So
you're getting, there's so many challenges right now, but they create opportunities. And
exactly. Yep.
And you're touching upon a possible topic for an upcoming Candids about some of the industries that are going to undergo remarkable change. Telemedicine.
Right.
I think it's been revealed that telemedicine in many instances is better than the way medicine or healthcare is delivered presently. So, and Bleu, I just lived in the neighborhood of your gallery, and I was walking by the other day with my dog, and I saw a woman putting her feet into a high-heeled shoe with pie filling in it. What is this about?
I don't know what you're talking about, Richard. Where were you walking? So, so, when we're not able to have people come into the gallery in the normal fashion that we would prefer, we basically, we're always looking for new ways to reach audiences, and we've done a number of, public art initiatives. We have a regular public art commissioning program at RoCo, where we commission temporary public art next to the gallery, and in some cases around the city. So we're always looking to reach people with new art projects where they are. And in this instance, what we did is we reinstalled a video exhibition curated by a terrific a video artist and curator named Jason Bernagosi. He had put together a collection of 4 different artists who are all living in the Front Range in Colorado. So this compilation video brings together their latest works, and it's called Dissolving the Frontier. And it's all about kind of taking the pulse of video art in a certain locality. And we've done a few iterations of this, looking at other communities, such as, you know, around the Great Lakes or rural southern New York State, etc. But kind of taking the pulse of the contemporary art community all through video art. So the installation that you're talking about, Dissolving the Frontier, we pulled that from another time frame and reinstalled it in our front window with a nice big, God, I think it's like a 70-inch flat screen that was donated to us for this exhibition. And then we piped the audio out onto the sidewalk for limited hours. So, you know, these are all just small efforts to adjust our program and keep some vitality on the sidewalk downtown. And honestly, that's one of the key things that, you know, that struck me as we were in the first week or two, you know, visiting the gallery to, you know, pay bills here and there, really trying to feel out what this was going to be like. It was just desolate and sad downtown, and all of us are so I think proud and happy to be a part of downtown in its current reviving state. You know, many of us remember when it was not that vibrant. So to see a small backslide in that was pretty disheartening. We were really excited to just pump a little contemporary art and audio out onto the sidewalk for people to visit on their dog walk. And another thing, if I can quickly mention, you know, we are fortunate as an organization, you know, to have some reserves. We are a very small organization, as I said, but we're not as small as some others. And immediately what I started to hear from some of our peers is that they were, you know, looking at really catastrophic situations without in some cases without PPP support. And also the artists that organizations like RoCo and our other peers are really dedicated to and live in symbiosis with the artists that we support and that support us through our exhibitions and our programming and provide the artwork. You know, they're not getting paying gigs. They're immediately undercut in their limited revenue. And in many cases, those are some very vulnerable communities, especially artists of color. And, you know, as we've seen, crises like this just show and reveal the inequalities in many different sectors and many different communities. So the art community is no different. And one thing we've tried to do is recognize our privilege and our fortunate position right now and try to be a convener, you know, to amplify those conversations, share resources, help artists apply for grants or support, and convene the conversations that are hopefully speaking to government, speaking to funders, and really illustrating some of the real vulnerability amongst the art community. Our city here in Rochester, both city, county, and region-wide, we're really proud of the art community in Rochester. You know, it's increasingly becoming a calling card of our region, and with, you know, region-wide identities being built around the arts and the art community. Well, the art community can't just be supported when times are good. This is, you know, a time when the art community really needs to be supported. And it's also an opportunity for us to double down on the arts, frankly, as I see it. And that starts, in many ways, that starts with supporting those artists who provide the ideas and provide the content and the challenges and the thoughtful responses to situations like this. And I could go on and on about how a crisis like this has shown us that when we get isolated or when we're faced with major upheaval or major challenges to our daily life, in many cases, we turn to artists. We turn to artists of all kinds. Look at all of the national and international fundraising concerts that have been organized, or other initiatives in which artists are continuing to innovate, draw attention to their field, and help others who are in even more need than they are. So there's a lot to say about the arts right now, but it's absolutely a time when our county and our city and our region needs to recognize that this critical part of our economy here is hurting and could be facing a major long-term setback if we don't support it. So I've tried to direct some of our attention as an organization to amplifying and promoting that message.
Here. I would concur that so many things are of value and you don't realize it until they're missing. They go missing. We take certain things for granted, particularly in our region. And I see two questions that came in, and they are precisely the things I was hoping to ask. So I'm going to start with Suzanne Mayer. And Suzanne, thank you. And I mean, you were getting into Chris, or not Chris, Bleu, on a community basis, but this has been taking a toll on people. And I know all three of you have designed a culture with intention at your organization and address issues of the workplace and how you're seeing employees respond, and how you might be addressing concerns you have, keep their morale up, and Jay, there were stressors about daycare. You were just referencing that early. So Jay, I want to start.
I think we started by just making sure everybody knew we had their back. And it sounds a little cheesy, but I mean, it was sincere. No matter what happens, we're all going to get through this as a family. And whatever your situation is, we'll work with you. We got here because of who we are. We're a feisty bunch, and we like to innovate, but we're not afraid of challenges. So we had to calm everybody down initially, and first of all, make sure they're safe and healthy. Number one, forget productivity. Just, I don't care how many people it takes, just get it out the door. But so I think it was just over communicating, almost like every day. And I come to work every day, and I don't purposely walk up to people and shake their hand. Not that there's anything wrong with that right now, but it's not for everybody. But even if I just walk through and they see I'm there, and then I come back to my office, and even if I'm 10, 20 feet away, just to support the people that do have to come to work every day. And I think we'll be better for it in the long run. It sounds crazy, but it's just one more thing that we can get through, learn from. And like I said, some people have taken this as an opportunity to advance themselves. There's no shortage of work, and it's, if you have the wherewithal to not be afraid to try something new, there's a lot of extra things you can do around here. So, like I said, so far so good. We're fortunate that we could stay busy.
Oh. Fred, what do you see?
Yeah, as I touched on already, we've had a strong focus on culture for years. We've had a number of different courses and things to bring, to set a context and build a foundation of what it means to be ITX and what the culture is, and get that across the organization. And I think that's provided a strong foundation for this crisis. We haven't let anyone go through this, which has been part of that. Supporting one of our core values is thrive together. We want to be thriving as a team, and thriving with our customers, and thriving together. So we try to live our values in what we're doing, and then support people. As I said, I think it's a lot about having conversations and one-on-one touching base with people, along with having the overall corporate message of what we're doing, how we're doing, trying to reduce the anxiety, at least from the work side. There's so much anxiety outside of work right now that if we can reduce the anxiety at work, at least people feel safe and able to focus on our customers, which is what we want, and can deal with the other anxiety that's happening outside of work, at that time, and not have work be an additional, stressor.
Yeah. I'm doing a time check, 8:45. Trying to work through some of the questions. Bleu, did you want to chime in addition? I didn't want to leave you out, but
Yeah. I mean, I basically, I love to hear these ideas mentioned by Fred and Jay, and they take a different form when you're a team of 4 people or 6 people, including some volunteers and other regular volunteers. But so they tend to have individual names rather than teams or groups. But I think what we tried to do right away is just make sure everybody was okay doing what was necessary, so that the task came second to the person's individual sense of well-being and safety. But the big the big thing for me was to just sort of figure out what was safe, so that then I could help to lead those decisions and help people feel safe, because everyone was just so confused for weeks there. How close can we be to each other? What does this mean? So that's a little bit of a departure point, but I guess I don't have that much to add. I've tried to do what my other panelists have done, but on a much smaller scale.
2 similar questions. Thank you, Glenn Allen, Armand Hall. They're curious, as I am, how this might permanently change the way you approach your organization permanently. One day we will get beyond this. I'm fairly sure of that. And what lessons have you learned? What permanent? I think Armin referenced it, a paradigm shift, if you will. Would you address that, all 3 of you, please?
I see Glenn's question, and I don't know what the new normal is. I have no idea. We surveyed everybody that's at home on a scale of like 1 to 5. 1 being, I can't wait to come back to work. Please let me come back today. And 5, like, I don't think I can ever come back to work. And it was all over the board. But for obvious, and then they had to explain why, for obvious reasons. Some very high risk, and some were just very nervous. And so we don't know the right answer. There isn't a right answer. We're going through it, trying to figure out how people can be productive. That's feel safe, be productive. And so some groups work better at home, sales, marketing. Some groups have to be here, engineering. So we're reorganizing the office as we speak to make more space for the engineers, because the sales guys aren't coming in. And it's again, we don't know. There's no book on this. You just got to figure it out. So yeah, that's the best I got there.
I love what I hear you use the word survey.
Yeah, I mean.
You have that type of connectivity to your audience as well, right?
Right. Yeah. Having each manager connect with their people and talk to them. And I don't think, as I said, we were already about 70% working from home. Mm-hmm. I don't think, we're talking about opening up offices now. But even if the office is open, we're still saying, use Zoom, don't go into conference rooms, do those types of things. So I think most of our people are going to continue working from home. So from that point of view, it will be very different. And then I think the core of it is you got to pivot. You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to change. And I don't think that's anything new. I think you've always had to do that. Mm-hmm. There's always stressors that come. There's always, something the difference here is everyone's getting the same stressor at the same time. right? Usually it's one industry that gets hit, or a couple industries that get hit. And now we're all getting it together, and we've got to all find ways to pivot and do what you always have to do to be successful. Pivot, find the opportunities, and leverage those to be successful. And as example, a lot of our leads, a lot of our sales activity happened from events. We ran events with 100, 200 people in rooms, and that led to a lot of our leads and training of our people and connection with our clients. Who knows when we're going to be able to do those again? So we've got to pivot and find other ways. How do we get in front of clients? How do we get out and tell our message? So I think it's an ongoing process that everyone needs to face.
Yeah, and in Bleu, there might be. By the way, I'm going to jump ahead. I haven't shared this with you. I know there's been an effort afoot to raise the visibility of the arts community in the region and obtain more funding. And I know you're doing things around that. Do you see this being sticky, a period to actually reinforce that effort?
Well, I hope so. And I think one way in which I see us or any changes being permanent, perhaps. I mean, if this kind of disruption, this kind of occurrence doesn't shuffle the arts funding model, which has long been problematic and somewhat broken in our region, if that doesn't happen out of this, I'm not sure anything will. So that's kind of a roundabout way of saying I'm hopeful that a positive change will come out of this in relation to arts funding. And in terms of other lessons or other permanent changes, honestly, I don't know. I think this is really an evolving situation for us. Literally, week by week or month to month, we're trying to forecast and figure out what changes we can make, how we can innovate with new reopening plans, what elements of our previous plan we can stick with. So I really think this is just a constant evolving situation. And for me, I've just tried to be really clear and transparent with my crew and the board of directors that, it's all new and we're evolving as best we can. And I don't know any more than anyone else does. So I've just tried to really open the communication channels so everybody feels valued and empowered to share what they've learned, share what they've seen a small arts organization doing in Singapore, for example, where they were on this. How did they change? How did they evolve? Really increase our benchmarking awareness so that we're being sure that we're noticing all the opportunities out there, all the different ways in which other organizations are responding, so we can absorb that and possibly learn from those other peers. This is it goes without saying, unprecedented and unique and special, but also frankly, for a small organization, I think some of my crew, we've enjoyed the reset. Honestly, to find a little silver lining, we've enjoyed the challenge and the reset, and to totally shift, to totally eliminate. Though we really miss having people walk in the door, we miss our visitors, our customers in our sector. As individuals, as people, many of them we know well, like you, Richard, other neighbors, etc. We miss them. But when you eliminate that large part of your activity, you have significant time and energy to put into other kinds of innovation, other kinds of adjustments. And we, again, being a small team, we're able to make that adjustment and shift that energy elsewhere. So I see very positive things coming out of that.
Cool. We're coming up to the end of the hour. I do want to tell Fred, someone is admiring his nifty headphones. And Jennifer Leonard has some questions regarding how you've if you're providing any equipment to your remote workers, helping them out and making it more comfortable than just sitting at a laptop at their kitchen table. Maybe you and Jennifer could coordinate separately and have a conversation, because I believe she probably, well, my guess is she probably is confronting issues of having her staff work from home. And I'm going to re-invite Chris back in a moment, but we rely on your feedback. This is community building. We have 2,200 active emails, 1,100 or more followers on Facebook. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. Please spread the word. Rochester has suffered severely, like every other community, it seems, around the world, but we have a bright future ahead of us. And I feel honored to be sharing a screen with the three of you, because you guys are great contributors. You have great operations. You all are domiciled in the city of Rochester, right? You're all located here. And from these challenges, we can emerge much stronger. And I referenced the Friedrich Nietzsche quote, "That which doesn't destroy us makes us stronger." I truly believe in that. So please, everyone who's present, we're down to 45 people. We were in the low 50s. Thank you for providing us an hour of your time. We've recorded this. We're going to post it on our website. Our website has a wonderful and rich archive of our previous interviews. The poll results have been shared. Whoa, the numbers have increased. Maybe within the last hour, some people have been notified they are no longer employed. That's awesome. That's awful. I don't want to add any humor to this, but maybe it's gallows humor. So I think this demonstrates how difficult this period has been to the community, or to us in the community. So Chris, would you like to come back, please?
Hey,
yeah, there you are.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for being here, and it's just been great. Yeah.
One more thing, I can't forget our crew. We have Tom Myers and Adriana and you, Chris. I mean, God, I just had the opportunity to talk too much today, but we have this wonderful team. Thank you all. So Chris.
Yeah, and along those lines, I do want to mention that we've been coming up with new ideas on the fly here. So like all the panelists have talked about today, as a team, we're saying, hey, what are we going to do next? And so we've done the virtual coffee event, right, which is more like the tiles, where everybody gets is more conversational, where this is certainly great. It's a conversation, but it's more focused. So we'll figure out if we're going to do more of these, how we're going to do more of these. Maybe they look a little different. So like Richard said, please send your feedback. And I don't want to put the panelists on the spot, but there were a couple questions that I feel like we could have gotten to in a bit more detail. So maybe we could just send those questions to you all in the essence of time, and you could maybe type up a little bit of a response, and we could send that back out to the community. I think the feedback and insight is valuable for everyone. So Adriana's posting info@rocgrowth.com if you have questions or want to email. The poll results were in, and I would say just stay tuned. Richard, anything else to add before we cut out of here?
Just remain safe and healthy. Enjoy this beautiful Memorial Day weekend. It's long overdue, this nice weather. But let's be wise, intelligent, and help each other out. We live in a community, and we're much stronger working and collaborating together. Thank you.
Sweet. Well, we'll catch you next time. Not sure when that is, but have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Peace, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Everyone.
Bye now.
Take care. Bye.